Chelsea Coffee here with Have You Heard. In case you haven't caught on, I'm host of the show. Sorry. Quinton does all of the filming and all the editing. So, hey guys, Chelsea Coffee here, and I am joined by my partner in crime.
How you doing, Quinton? Boughton?
So we wanted to, sit down. We should have probably thought about this before.
Yeah.
We've actually been working on our most recent project. It's called Have You Heard for about 6 months now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. It feels like forever,
Yeah.
even though it isn't very long. But yeah, we're so excited to be telling you guys about it, formally. It's kind of weird because we've been doing it for so long that it's it almost feels a little backwards to be bringing this to you guys. But yeah, we have this project that we started, and the story behind it was kind of cool. So Quinton, why don't you kind of introduce the idea, and then we'll jump into the story behind how it all came together.
Okay. The original idea for Have You Heard? It was myself and two of my friends. We were going to start a TV show. It was going to be a 3-part TV show. My part of the show was going to be kind of just exposing and bringing more light to, it's a lot of less known kind of underground arts and culture and things like that in the city of Houston, because there's a lot of that here, and there'd be a lot of really cool events and things like that. That I even just personally I would find out about the day after, the week after, and I'd be I wish I had known about that. I wish there was some way that I could have known about that. If there was some venue or some type of platform to where people could know about what's going on, even if it's just an event, a show, an artist, gallery, things like that. I just wanted more exposure to those types of things. That's kind of what the genesis, the basis idea of that I had for starting the show.
Yeah, and I love it, and it's so funny because the story of how this all came together is it's so organic. It is just
so
a great story.
Yeah.
So at the time I was working for a company. It was my corporate job. Second attempt at that. And you go and you get clients, and it was a creative based company, and Quinton actually was one of the clients that I was trying to get. So I called and I was like, hey, can I come over and talk to you? And he's like, well, I'm a video editor, you sure you want to come? I was like, yeah, just let me get my credit. So anyway, I went there, and I ended up being so blown away by this guy. He had already got his master's in film. It was just the coolest thing. So to say the least, after that meeting, I was like, oh, I don't feel like this is for nothing. We were from the same school district, and we had a lot of things in common, and I just was really excited. So I was like, I don't know how it's going to come together, but let's be crossing our fingers that something good comes of this.
Hope for the best.
Yeah. So during that time, Issa Rae was rolling out just a whole production line of all these really great shows I discovered on YouTube. And I was like, this is beautiful. I want to be a part of the movement.
Yeah.
And, I just I felt really frustrated with reality TV at that time. And I was so tired of especially for Black people, whenever we were on TV, it seems it's either because we're getting arrested or you know what I mean,
acting crazy,
fighting, and I'm just enough. So when I came across Issa Rae, it was so refreshing to see
some positivity.
all the content that she was producing. So I was like, I want to be a part of that. I was like, Quinton. So we had these networking mixers that we were doing over the summer, kind of in the spring. And I reached out. You couldn't make the first one.
Yeah. But
then for the second one, I was like, well, I'm going to send this by the email, follow, text, all the stuff. So anyway, there we were, and I in the middle of the event, I'm like, hey, I have this idea. I want to tell you about it. I want to tell you about my ideas. So literally, we set up a meeting to meet on his birthday, which was so sweet because it was on a Monday, and the event was on a Tuesday or something. So it was going to be a week apart. And I think there was a miscommunication. I didn't get an email or a text message, or something went wrong and I didn't get it. And Quinton is if there's one thing I know about him, if he says he's gonna do something, he's gonna do it. It doesn't matter if we had the follow-up call or whatever. I know I can count on him. So I finally had sent my email hey, and Quinton has 50 emails. So I sent one email and I was just hey, I hope you get this. Are we still on? And I check it and he's I'm here, and I'm oh my god, what time is it? Freaking out, raced to Chipotle, and we ended up having a great meeting.
Yeah, it was great. It was very productive. It was the start of something beautiful.
Boom. Yeah, it was so quick. So I sit down. I feel so bad because I'm still hungry and I'm eating my burrito and all that stuff. But I was like, listen, it's gonna be really good. So I basically, you know, kind of like rolled out my ideas to him. I was like, you know I told you kind of like a brief overview of my ideas that I had in mind. So basically, sometimes I'm a little too much of a dreamer, and it doesn't always come with like a formal, you know, plan to go with it. So I literally like was like, are you ready for this? I want to tell a love story. I was like, and it's going to be beautiful. I was like, do you know where we can get actors? Because I don't know where to get those. And I was like, and I don't have a script. I was like, but I just want them to like vibe out. You know what I mean? I was like, I just want them to like, you know, kind of like get in front of the camera, and it'll just be natural, and it'll be beautiful. And he was like, like so polite, like, okay, cool, I hear you. He's like, so what's your next idea? And I was like, oh, I don't think he's really feeling my little love story. So then I was like, all right, well, the other one is Hey Houston, which was my Have You Heard? But I wanted to actually do like a mini documentary where we would like reach out to all these different people who, you know, I've come across in Houston, who you've come across like here in the city, and basically just kind of like, you know, spend a day with them, or, you know, just something to kind of like have like a day in the life kind of feel, like almost like mobile cribs, like think of it that way. Where you get to see like, you know, where they work, what they do, where they go to eat, just all sorts of stuff. And then it was going to be like a mini documentary when it was finished. But it was so cool because you were actually like, I can do you one better. And then you were talking about like the station. Which was really cool.
It was pretty cool. Like I said, I had the idea to do my show with my friends. I was going to be on a TV station, public access station in Houston, Houston Media Source, which is one of the venues that the show is on or will be on. And it was really cool. Like, since we got the opportunity to be a part of that space in that station, I have the studio set up and things like that, different various video equipment. I was like, yeah.
I was like, what?
I was like, yeah, we could do a mini documentary, or we could do, you know, a TV show where it's just, you know, continuous episodes, you know, more people and things like that. So instead of it just being a documentary and that's it, you know, we can have everyone from the documentary plus more for people who might have met, you know, come across through them along the way and things like that. So
yeah, it was the coolest thing. I literally, like, from that point on, I was like, this is a good thing. Because it's funny, because initially, like, I wanted to have actors. In case you haven't caught on, I'm the host of the show. Sorry that I didn't make that plain. Quinton does all of the filming and all the editing. But I always play it small. Like, I always, like, have myself behind the scenes. And then even still, I was like, all right, well, do you want to bring in a host? Or, like, what do you want to do? Because at that point, I was like, is this, like, my project? Is it your project? Is it our project? So I was like, you know, do you want to bring in people? Or, like, how do you want to do it? And he was like, why don't you just host it? And I was like, okay. So anyway, it just, like, it was really cool how it was, like, rolling out in such a natural way. So we just couldn't be more excited about it. You know, if you guys have projects that you're working on, or, you know, somebody that you know who is doing big things in the city, and they, you know, are kind of like right under that, like, radar where they're really about to pop off, you know, be sure to let us know. We'd love to have them on. We're actually booked, like, through like March or April. Like, it's crazy, but at the same time, like, we just want to share the stories of what's going on here in the city. And, you know, at some point, I'm sure we'll probably do other stuff too. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. But we do want to give you guys more information about us. So, you know, we don't want it to be like, who are these people who, like, you know, are posting or doing whatever. So why don't you, you know, give the people a little taste about where you come from and, like, your background.
I went to undergrad in San Antonio, went to high school in Missouri City. Both my parents were in the military. That's where they met. My dad was stationed in Killeen, and that's why he ended up in Houston after that. Yeah, and so yeah, I did that. You know, grew up in Houston for the most part, but would always go back and forth to New York, visit at least once or twice a year. All my family's from either New York or New Jersey, so that East Coast was always a big part.
It runs through our veins.
It does. The East Coast, it's a great coast to be on. Yeah, so I did that. Went to undergrad. Pretty much my entire life I wanted to be a lawyer. Like, I was that kid. I just really enjoyed law in the courtroom. You know, I'd come home from kindergarten. My grandmother would pick me up. I'd go to her house and, you know, watch Judge Judy. Not, you know, cartoons.
Which is, like, the funniest thing to me. Like, did you request it, or did she have it on and you just wanted to, like, you didn't want her to change it?
I think the first time I saw it, she just had it on, and I watched it and it was interesting. And then after that, like, I would come back and I would request it. I would, you know, like, I remember a couple of times we would stop to, like, you know, go to the store or Steinmore or, you know, to get something to eat. I'd be like, well, can we, you know, hurry up, just like, Judge Judy, you know.
Quinton's so polite, so he probably was having, like, a fit.
I I don't want to miss it. Like it's it's only half an hour. Because we have a schedule to keep to. We can do this after.
I'm not hungry. Are you not hungry?
Yeah, can eat in half an hour. It'll be
That's
alright.
right. That's right. And it's not even a full half hour. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Commercials and things like that. So it's it was that. But yeah, so I've always enjoyed law. I want to do that my whole life. Went to undergrad. Think I'm gonna go into pre-law, at least a pre-law program, something like that. The school I went to actually there wasn't an actual program for pre-law. It was more like a pre-law tract, which I was like, it's not what I was looking for per se, but I'm cool with that. That's cool. Take these classes. They said, and you can be more prepared for law school.
Right.
I was like, all right, that's cool. Did that. Joined the pre-law frat, so I was really into law. Joined the pre-law frat, Phi Phi Delta. Even high school, like I was in criminal justice class, criminal justice clubs. Because I was really trying to go to law school.
You're like, this isn't like an optional thing. Like,
yeah, like that's what I want to do in life. So I was in the pre-law frat at school, but I feel like we didn't do as much as I would expect it, as I would hope. I guess we had plans to do like mock trials or go to different courtroom settings and things like that, different events and field trips, but most of that didn't really happen. And so yeah, it was kind of a letdown, but I was like, I just kind of what I want to do. So I took various law classes there at school, and one day, like my sophomore year, I ran track at undergrad in high school, and one of my friends who I ran track with, he was at this event fair. All the different organizations and clubs on campus were kind of there saying, hey, this is what we have. Come check us out, see what we have to offer, different extracurricular activities if you have time in your schedule. So I went there one day. I saw my friend there who I ran track with. He was there for the school's TV station, and so I was like, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? He was letting me know that he worked for the TV station, worked on this one, the news show, and that they really needed people because everyone who they had previously.
This is where I started.
It's where it all started. Everyone who they had previously, graduated the previous semester because they were all seniors, and so they kind of really needed more folks because it was most of the seniors
like a little
who ran the show. Exactly. And so I was like, yeah, I've seen the TV station a couple of times. I've seen the show. It seemed kind of cool. It's like, yeah, I'll come help you out. And then I just kind of fell in love with it instantly from there. So it was the news station that I was working on. I did the sports program.
Did you do the editing specifically, or like was it like you were all over the place, like you did?
I was kind of all over the place. I started off just filming. Actually, I started off just helping the guy film. I would go out and just film some stuff, and you give it to the different people who were doing the editing. And then after being there for a little bit, I started to film and edit pretty much most of the packages for sports. It even got to the point, me and a couple of friends, for one of my friends' thesis, we started our own sports show on there. That was his thesis program, so it was cool. And so we covered sports at our school, and we tried to do sports in the city, like other high schools and things like that. It worked out kind of a little bit, but not as much as we planned.
What you expected.
Yeah, there was a lot of red tape that we went through. But yeah, so I just really enjoyed editing, really enjoyed film. Took a few good classes from a lot of really cool professors who did some really cool things in film and stuff like that. And then I was faced with the tough decisions. I was like, been wanting to go to law school my whole life, but I really love film, and so I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I took both the LSAT and the GRE.
Which is like crazy.
It is.
I can't imagine having to
but it wasn't too bad because they weren't like so close to each other to where I had to study together. I studied for one, for this semester, and then the next semester studied for the other one.
Right. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Because the GRE is more flexible, a little bit more dates. Where the LSAT, it's like I need to study for this now.
Right.
And I can, more flexibility with GRE. So that was what I did with that. Then after that, I was like, maybe if I take both, I can, kind of decide after that.
Right.
Which I didn't. And so then I was like, well, I need to make a decision on what I'm going to do, after I graduate. I'm going to go to law school, go to film school. I was like, maybe if I go to law school, I can do the best of both worlds. I can do like, media law, things like that.
Right.
I was like, it's not really the same. So I applied to both law school and film school.
You guys, Quinton is like, it's funny, really. He's like laid back, but he's like a super overachiever. You are. It's like the coolest thing.
A little bit. Yeah, so I did that, and so it was very last minute. I believe it was maybe like the last few days of if you want to go to school, you have to make a decision. And so I decided to go to film school in New York because I love New York. It's a great place to be.
That was a total settle.
It was.
And I asked him, I was like, can we talk about Were you forced to go to film school because it didn't work out? But you like got into both. Like it's like amazing.
So it was cool, and I went to film school, and like instantly I knew that I made the right decision. Like I love the atmosphere, I love being in New York. I love film school, the experiences. It was just it was for sure the right decision.
What part of the city were you in?
Manhattan. So I was right there, Lower East Side, and so it was cool. It was really cool.
I like live vicariously through literally his stories. At some point, I would like to have a brownstone in Brooklyn, specifically Bed-Stuy. And whenever he starts talking about New York, I'm like, oh, what else did you do? Like literally like vibing out. But okay, fair enough. So what kind of like? I mean, I cut you off. Sorry.
Okay.
But like what,
That was
you know?
most of the story for the most part.
I feel bad we're actually recording this for a second time. So if I could anticipate where we were going, I have a short attention span. But, you know, where do you feel like the segue was between like coming back to Houston, or like, you know, was it like a natural thing for you to do that, or did you feel like you wanted to stay? Like, were you torn?
I wanted to stay. Like the initial plan was, you know, just going there to go to school and then come back. But then I went there, I was like, I love it here. I just I could see myself being here. You know, I had financial aid and was staying in my apartment, student housing and things like that. And then I was there, my school, we had classes up until the summer, and then we had like a small summer session. And after that, they were like, well, we kind of need our housing
Our
for,
space
you know,
back.
people come back in the fall. You can't really
God.
stay here. And I was working, you know, student, work study and things like that. And I was doing a little bit like freelance video editing work just so I wasn't completely broke, because New York is not the cheapest place in the world.
No, it's not. But I don't really have issues when I'm out there, you know.
That's true, yeah. And so yeah, I was like, you know, I just can't really afford to stay here at the moment.
It's the stay part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you
when
get
it's
when
for
you
a
get there.
time.
Yeah, it's like I can't afford to stay at the moment. So I was like, I went back to Houston. And that's that transition was kind of really where I got the idea more so for the show, because you know in New York there's just so much culture everywhere.
It's like you get inundated with
you go
like
every other corner there's art, so you can see people filming TV shows, movies, things like that, like museums everywhere. Just people in the parks doing
it's just
a lot of
everywhere
artists, and you can't avoid it. And I came back here, I came back to Houston, I don't really know where the Houston film scene is, because when I was in Houston I wasn't into film, so I didn't really look it up previously.
Yeah.
So I came back trying to find, you know, the art stuff. Actually, a lot of my friends went to Art Institute, so I would go to art events with them. But I was like, those are cool, but I feel like there should be more. Like, there's so much more culture in Houston. There has to be. So that was kind of the basis of the show. That transition kind of led me to really want to make the show, because I just want to know more about what's in Houston. I feel like other people want to know what's, you know, going on as well.
And it's true. And the cool thing, like, not to like toot the horn for our show, but we're not there yet. You know what I mean? Where like we have like money coming in, where it's like, you know, we only have so much space, we only have whatever. Like for us, the goal is just like to like spread the word about all the good stuff going on in terms of like arts and culture and music and just fashion. I mean, all of it. So for us, it's kind of like, you know, what's the site that we would want to go to? Like, what's the, you know, experience, like the user experience that we would want to have? So it's like really exciting to be able to, you know, actually set the tone for that and, you know, have our own voice with it. So it's very cool. So I guess I'll talk about me a little bit.
Yeah.
I have kind of a colored like array of experiences, but one of my most recent ones was actually in media. So it was pretty cool. I was working, I say working, but it started out like super informal. I was just like a Girl Friday for this woman that I met, and she did interviews and she traveled all across the country, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like how cool is your job? Like I would love just to, you know, be up under you and like breathe your air and just hear about like these cool things that you're doing. So I have a nonprofit called Mia's Closet, and I sat down with her just to tell her about my organization, and next thing I know, you know, we're talking about what she does and her job, and it was just so cool. So it turned out that in my schedule, because I was a grad student at the time, I had the flexibility to be able to travel. So literally I was just like, if you want me to hold the bags, like if you want me to like hold the camera, like I can do whatever you need me to do. I actually wish I had started editing like when I was there, because it's
Oh,
like
yeah,
a really
yeah.
user-friendly, like on the, not on his level, but like on the basic level of it, it's like an easy thing to do. But having said that, or maybe it just like came to me, because I've had my frustration days.
Of
But
course.
anyway, so yeah, I ended up traveling, and I remember like the very first time she was like, I don't feel like interviewing today, like Chelsea, you should do it. And I was like, what? I was like, are you serious? And we were at a Texans game, like during the game, about to go to the locker room, and I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna do the interviews? And like she was just so cool, and like there I was, like interviewing, you know, all these guys that I've seen on TV, you know, for the last few years. So it was just the coolest thing. And I've done interviews in the past and like hosted different stuff, but this was the first time I had ever like, you know, there was like a formal publication that my interviews were going to be like distributed through, and it was just like, you know, when you have those moments where, like for you, right, like when your friend invited you to like come be a part of it, like for me, I was like, I like this, like, I really like this. And I have a blog, it's called The Coffee Break, and it has always been like a written blog, but the thing that's tricky about that is I really only write out of like stress. Like if something like crazy happens or I go through a really tough experience, like I don't necessarily want to, or I should say that the way I sort through my thoughts is like in written form. But then it's like, I mean, bad stuff isn't happening all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? So it's like, the coffee break would be like dormant if I didn't have like, you know, a super like intense experience to reference. So that's why I was really excited about like having that job where I was doing all the stuff in media, because it was an opportunity for me to realize that like I love hearing people's stories. Like I almost don't even care as much about like what industry you're working in. Like I just want to hear about like where you started from, like where you are now, like your vision for what you want to do, where you want to go. Like that's the stuff that really like gets me like completely excited. And Quinton, I heard a story now probably for the third time, and I was still like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So it just, you know, I really am wired for that. And that's why, you know, we're so excited just to connect with all these different people around town, hear their stories, like, you know, hear what you guys have going on, and really bring light to it. So anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. You'll be able to catch Have You Heard Tuesdays at 8. It's a weekly distribution. Before we go, we just want to let you guys know where you can find us. We'll start off with the show. So the website is haveyouheardtv.com, and you can also connect with us directly on social media. Quinton, why don't you tell yours first?
You can find me on Instagram. I have 2 accounts, Stones Media, that's my more freelance business, and Q Stones, and Twitter at QTZ.
And then you can find me on both Instagram and Twitter at Chelsea_Alexa. So anyway, we look forward to connecting with you guys, and you know, thanks in advance for watching. It's going to be good. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Take care.
Now for a break.
Oh yeah.